Joslin Memorial Library, May 7th, 2020. Pond exploring.
So I've gathered some of the things that we're going to need to go pond exploring. And you might recognize some of them if you've ever been to a summer learning program ponding event, which we've done for the past couple of years. Corey and Amanda and I have gone to Blueberry Lake with a whole bunch of library friends, and we've looked for creatures in the pond. So some of these supplies might look familiar to you, but I'm going to give you a little reminder and also show you how you might be able to find some things at home that you can use. So one thing that you don't have to have, but is helpful to have, is a net. So even like a bug net will work. Mine is actually, I don't have a ponding net at home, so mine is actually a mosquito net, an embroidery hoop, and a clamp. I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but I'm excited to find out. And another thing that is absolutely necessary is some kind of container that you can put water in. This one is really helpful because it's white, and the white background makes it easier to see the creatures and other things that you might find in the pond. Anything that's light will work. You just don't want a really dark bucket. Next up, I have something that's a little bit smaller. This is an old yogurt container, I think, and it's helpful for after you've found some things in your bucket, you might want to look up a little bit closer. You can use that. If you want to look up even closer, I have another couple of materials, like this little white lid. You can scoop with that, and also a spoon. And if I want to look even closer, I have a special tool. I wonder if you know what this is. Have you ever seen one of these before? This is called a magnifying glass, and it's really helpful for looking very, very close at things. It makes it look bigger, so you can see more details. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go bring my supplies over and see what we can find.
Remember to always have a grown-up with you when you're playing near water.
All right, so I've got all my supplies, and I'm gonna start with my bucket. I'm just gonna fill it up with some water from the pond. And even if you don't have a net, this is a good way to kind of investigate and see what you might find. So I'm just gonna dip it right in. It's kind of amazing to see, without even trying, how many things you might find in just a bucket of water scooped right out of the pond. Let's see what we've got. One of my favorites, a caddisfly case. I'm not sure if, oh yeah, there is a caddisfly inside. So this is a little kind of a larva that builds a little house for itself for protection. It's pretty cool. They use all sorts of materials. The ones that are in streams might use different materials, but these ones in the pond like to use some pine needles, some little pieces of pine cones, some pieces of grass, some old seed coats, let's see, what else does this guy have? Sometimes little bits of leaf. They get really creative, and they actually use their spit, which is kind of like a glue that holds it all together. And they'll use that silk tape to attach it all together. And actually, if you can see the little hole right there, that's where he is, right inside his case. And then once he's ready to turn into a fly, he'll come on out of the water and his wings will have grown. I'm gonna put him back in. Let's see what else might be in there. This looks like it might be some skin that maybe a caddisfly shed. These look like they're actually bugs, but they're just the skin that the bugs shed. So there's nothing alive in there anymore. But they look really cool. Let's see if we can get a close-up with our magnifying glass. Can you see it? Okay, so after looking at all those critters up close, I'm gonna do some more exploring using my net. So what I'm gonna do is take my net right into the water and swish around. And I'm gonna see what I've found. I'm gonna let all the water drain out first. And then I might even take my hand underneath and kind of look up close and see if there's anything moving inside the net. Oh yeah, I've got some wigglers in here. And then I'm gonna take it over to my bucket and flip it upside down and then turn the net inside out and swish it around in the bucket. And that way all of the creatures that were on my net, that were in the pond and need to be inside in water, now they're back in the water. Ooh. There's some kind of wiggly little worm-like thing here. It's kind of reddish. There's also some little bug that seems to stay on top of the water right here. This is some kind of larva, which means just a baby. Its body is so clear that you can see its insides. So cool looking. Right now it lives in the water, but when it's grown up, it's gonna live in the air. All right, I'm gonna go look for some more with my net. Ooh, I think I see something. I'm gonna go so gently with my net, but I'm also gonna try and be quick. Oh, got it. Let's take it over. Okay, and it goes. Where did it go? Oh, there he is. He's covered in algae. Algae is all this green stuff that's around everything. I'm gonna handle him, but I don't want to handle him with my hands like they are now. My hands are dry, mostly, and they're people clean, but I actually want to get them nature clean, which means I'm just gonna rub them in some dirt right quick. The creature that I just found has some really sensitive skin, and I don't want the oils and salts that are on my hands to harm his skin. So I'm also gonna just hold him for a very short amount of time. As long as your hands are wet, that's a good start. But it's also sometimes fun to get them a little bit muddy. Do you know who this is? She's very cute, isn't she? This is a kind of salamander. Right now this one is called a red eft. She has some beautiful spots. This salamander is an amphibian, which means that she can go in and out of the water. But when she gets older, she's gonna look different, and it's gonna live in the water for its life. These salamanders are very slow when they're moving on land, but in the water, they're so speedy. So after you're done with your ponding exploration and you're ready to put everything back, it seems like it would make sense to just dump the water on the ground, but we're actually going to put it back in the pond because there's all sorts of critters. Even if you can't see them, there may be some things that are alive in there that need to go back in the pond to be able to live. So I'm going to carefully dump this back in the pond. And I'm also going to wash all of my materials out in the pond just in case there's something that's still on there that I can't see. Even my net. Just like we did when we put it in the bucket, I'm going to turn it inside out. And I'm going to just swish, swish, swish right here in the pond. Make sure that everything is off. But I'm not done yet. There's a couple other things that are really fun to do when you're down at the pond. And one of those is actually reading a book. But not like a book that we get at the library. This is a different kind of book. And all you need to do is look around the edge of the pond and find a stack of leaves. The pages of the book are actually the leaves, and you can read it by just turning them over. And actually, right on this first leaf, I'm finding something squiggly. Can you see anything moving on there? Let's see if I can pick one up so gently. There are different kinds of creatures that live right next to the pond than the ones that live in the pond. Ooh, I'm seeing lots of little itty bitty worms called nematodes. Oh, and there's somebody here. This is a good activity if you have a magnifying glass. All right, that's the last page of my book. You can always read another book if you want to. I'm gonna put this little guy back in the water, or right next to the water. We always want to put them back in about the same spot that we found them.